Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to ride some controversial downhill trails. Have no fear, these are fully legal trails, filled with rock features and plenty of berms. Exactly the kind of features we're looking for. Of course, on this channel, we've ridden a huge number of downhill trails all across the country. Everything from natural lines to trail centres and bike parks. Each one has been an awesome experience and filled with its own amazing features. These fast and exciting trails are great for both progression and to showcase what you can do on a bike. But all these trails have one thing in common. They're all downhill. Which brings us to today's ride. So where am I for this adventure? And have I brought a downhill bike? Well, no. Today I'm riding my short travel hardtail. Because these downhill trails are at a place called Sherwood Pines. Arguably one of the flattest trail centres in the country. So what am I doing here?
So I rode these downhill trails about a year ago and it's fair to say I didn't enjoy them very much, so I haven't been back. But recently someone told me that they've had a lot of work done to them and they're actually all right now, so I thought I'd give it a go. I'm not expecting the Forest of Dean or Fort William downhill trails, but they might be a bit of fun. I'm going to go in with an open mind.
So with an open mind, I headed to the trails. One of the best ways to get to the downhill section is along the main XC loop. This gives you plenty of opportunity to warm up, get a feel for your bike and get some practice in. It's great to see my hardtail in its element, taking on some tight corners and just shredding some of the woodland single track. Before long, I turned off the main track towards the skills area and over towards the downhill. Riding up here, you're instantly greeted with a huge wooden start ramp. This hefty roll-in is designed to get the trails off with a bang by giving you a huge speed injection from the get-go. It's steep on both sides, but luckily it has steps up the back to make life easier. From here you can see the start of the trails. There are around 4 main trails here, but they do split off a little bit down at the bottom. I'm going to ride the main lines today. So let's pick one and see what it's all about. Heading straight down the main line, things start off relatively flat before heading into this rock garden. From here, I kept on the left line over some more rocks. These are good for jumping, but they are fully rollable like I did here. Keeping to the left line, the rock features come at you thick and fast. There's nothing too intimidating, but being my first time down, I'm not quite sure what the landings look like or what speed to take the features at. So I just went with the flow of the trails and I let my hardtail do its thing. Avoiding the puddles, I kept to the left again at the bottom section where you move into this flowing single track. This section reminds me of a classic mountain bike blue trail. No real features, just cruising through the forest. Eventually, down at the bottom, all the trails converge together and you pop right back out onto the push-up track. Easy. The push-up track itself is also a pretty easy 5-minute pedal back, but it is part of the main trail network, so it can get quite busy at times. Heading back up the roll-in, it was time for trail number 2. For my second run, I started on the main line again, but after the rock garden, I took the berm to the right. This trail is a bit more flowing than the first one, but it still has plenty of rock features and small kickers to keep things interesting. This happens to be my favourite trail that I rode today. It's fast, really involved, and has a full range of features to enjoy. It's always good to get rowdy on my hardtail every now and then. I use this bike for everything from short sessions to multi-hour rides. It's comfortable and agile. But even going at a moderate pace, these trails are only 45 seconds long. Just like the top, the lower section is filled with more rocky outcrops, sweet berms, and it also ends with this funky looking wall ride thing, which I couldn't resist. Pretty good fun. But as I said, these trails are a bit controversial. As it turns out, building downhill trails where there isn't really any downhill is a hard task. Whenever I ask anyone about these trails, people always reply with, yeah, but they're not really downhill. And I get it. If like me, you're used to riding the 1 and 2 dot graded downhills at other trail centres, I would go as far as to say that you'd be very disappointed if you came here expecting the same thing. I wouldn't really call these downhill trails, they're more just trails. The kind you'd find anywhere on any blue or red mountain bike descent.
So I'll be honest with you, I came here about a year and a half ago and I rode the so-called downhill trails and they were dreadful. They were just flat. There was nowhere near a 2 dot feature on there or anything like that. So I came here expecting them to be absolutely dreadful today, but actually I'm enjoying myself.
Now, I'm not trying to put down anyone who enjoys these. I'm sure many people love riding these trails on a regular basis. They're certainly not what you'd expect from a downhill trail, but to be honest, for a half-hour quick session on the hardtail, these trails are pretty good.
Time for another run, I think.
For this run, I chose a more natural looking line to the left. This line is a little different. It's clearly had some work done to it fairly recently, but drainage is definitely still an issue. As with all the downhill trails here, you often have to pedal to maintain your speed, but this line is definitely one of the slower top sections. Unfortunately for this trail, it doesn't have any of the fun rock sections that are prominent features on all the other lines. The most interesting feature on here was a tight berm section around the trees. After coming along this slow pedally section, there was a bit of a dip with a jump on the other side.
No chance.
I gave it a huck, but I was going way too slow to make the landing. Oh well. With a lack of features or any decent gradient, this trail does seem a lot blander than the others. The lower section here is pretty much just a pedal back to the push-up track. Not the most downhill of downhill trails, and definitely the least enjoyable trail that I rode today. After riding this slower trail, I wanted to finish strong by riding the fastest trail of the lot. For the last run, I'm back on the main line. After the rock garden, the trail goes straight over the rocks that I hit on the first run down, and then turns to the right onto the middle line. This seems to be one of the fastest runs here. It still flows like the others and has a classic rock features to jump over, but it just takes a more direct line through the woods. Trails like these are great for hardtail riders. In the lower sections, it points you out onto this fast piece of single track. It's definitely one of the quickest parts of the whole downhill area, and it feels good to be going at a decent pace, although the rocks did catch me out a bit. And with that, we turn the last corner and the trail is done. So if you're someone new to riding descents or learning to ride new features, somewhere like this might be a good option for you. This was great to ride on my hardtail and nice to get a bit of mileage under my belt. But in the future, I think I'll stick to downhill trails that are a bit more, well, downhill. So let me know what you think in the comments. Remember to subscribe and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.